what do service design and UX design have in common? Are they the same? Are they different? How come some of the people say that they do the same at the same time? Let's have a look at each of these things and what's the connection between them. So let's look at services and UX design. And by the way, my name is Adam Nemet, and I'm a software design engineer. So what is a service? If you type this into Google, it's likely that the definition you get is that the service is the action of helping or doing work for someone. So this is easy. Every time someone does work for someone else, they are doing a service. And if you think about it, this is what we use computers for, to do things for us. What is user experience? Well, my favorite definition is that it's a sum of thoughts and feelings, human experiences during a relationship with a system. It's always about people who have some connection with the system, but it doesn't have to be a direct connection. For example, when you have an invoicing system, which prints out invoices, you can have a user experience with the invoice design. You never meet the system, you just meet the invoice on paper, but you still have a user experience. And it's really about psychology. So a lot of cognitive psychologists folks found it out. So it's about thoughts and feelings. This is the experience, and it's also connected to human-centered design because it's always about humans. I don't know what about dogs and cats. Maybe there should be a cat-centered or dog-centered design, but we usually deal with humans. So for services, there are two sides of the things. One of the sides is called the provider. They are the one who give the service. The other side is called the user. They are the one to benefit from the help or deed or act what they are doing. And there is an agreed signature in the universal modeling language, which is for IT and business analysis. Provider is a bump, and there is this little fork for the one receiving the service. So, okay, we have these two sides, and as I said, systems, computers just automate services for us. So we could say that it's really the user experience of the service, and the system provides the service, gives the service, and the user benefits from it. But services are much bigger. Let's think about a web shop, because a lot of UX designers work in e-commerce. So we have a web shop system. Is this the whole service? Well, you can do self-service, so to say. So you can buy your stuff, but it's not the whole service. First off, you won't meet with the web shop directly. You will either meet in Google or you will meet it in a Facebook advertisement likely. And or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And the other side, and that's more important, that we see from time to time that the whole experience is defined not by the web shop, because nowadays everyone can build at least a basic web shop. It's not a secret anymore how to do it. But instead, the delivery experience, that's where companies doing e-commerce are struggling. So the delivery experience is still part of the service. But along with some other steps, for example, you might have email marketing or something else. These so-called touch points, which are the interactions through time, so interaction points, interaction moments, define the service experience. And as you see, it's much bigger than a single system or a single product. So service is much bigger. And if you look at it, you might be angry at a company when they are not delivering correctly, right? So it's not necessarily even with the touch point, it's not necessarily with the system. You are sometimes angry at the organization because for you, the organization provides the service, and you are just benefiting from it or not. And in some ways, these organizations, mostly our clients, are ordering systems to be developed in order to support their tasks, their processes. And it's really important that basically service is executed through time. We can call that a process. And that process is either automated or supported by a system. And this is what all IT systems do. Now, IT systems in the UX world are measured in their usability, and usability is basically effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction. But these are a bit abstract, so it's easier to say that efficiency is the conversion rate of a web shop, how many people enter the web shop and how many people ended up buying something. And how much effort did it take to do something? How much effort did it take for you to design campaign in Canva versus how much effort would it take to design the same thing in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever tool you have, Figma or Sketch or anything else? Satisfaction is just how much does it meet your expectations. So the effort needed is really important because this is where the system costs you. It costs you time, it costs you energy, and you will have to regain that energy in a restaurant or just sleep more. And you're losing the time. And that's where system actually costs things, costs money. And conversion rate is lost money. So this is what we care about in usability. And we always care about in terms of single service. So for a given user group, for a given context, and a given goal. Basically, the goal is something which is synonymous with the service. Every service has an end goal when the problem is solved. So this is when we finished, when you have the product in your hand. This is where the service finished. So to say, actually, there is another step, which is called warranty handling, but let's not go there. There's a problem with it, actually, because we usually measure usability with a survey called the System Usability Scale. And once we did the ticket vending machines for national rails, and we did this standard survey, there was a QR code next to the machine, and we got really low ratings, really bad ratings. And I was really sad about it because I designed it. And we didn't know why, but we turned out to know why, because in order to understand what was the service they wanted to get, we added another question. Why did you give this answer? And it turns out that most people complained about the trains being late. And of course, in the ticket vending machines, couldn't do anything with the trains being late. But still, for the user, the whole experience is defined as the service. So how do we define this? What is a good service? And if you think about it, this usability thing or ease of use, as some people say, are really two-sided. When you're first trying to get something, you have a perceived usefulness, how much more you would value this than the money you would give out or the time or effort. And actually, you have also perceived usability on how much effort does it need to take for you to actually get what you want from this thing. And when you see that it's good enough, then of course you will start to use the system. And after you start to use the system, you might profit from it. And of course, there will be the actual cost of use, which is again something connected to usability. And therefore, in sales, we have typical questions on, does it spare us time? That's the main question we get. How does the system spare us time? Because time is the easier to calculate effort. I mean, you just multiply it by your salary and by the hour, and then you have how much money did you spare? How does it help us bring value? Value can be a much more broader thing. And sometimes, but a lot of times, the question is, does it enable people to have something they otherwise can't? For example, GPS enabled Uber drivers to exist next to taxi drivers. They don't have to know the street anymore. And there are services for disabled people, for people with, let's say they are living in remote villages and still they can get delivery. This is fantastic. So this is where we bring value. And then, of course, big question is the usability. Okay, we spare this much time, this is our profit, but how much time and resources or effort does it cost to use it? This is the big question of usability, and it can be defined for a service just as well as for a digital product. And in order to design a good user experience, the steps are basically the same. Know your users, their contexts and tasks and goals, what they want to do, how they want to do it. The easiest way to know it is to involve them on designing and developing the system. And you have to design and develop it in an iterative, agile way. You have to start small and then ask them, okay, listen to their feedback and then define. And when listen to the feedback, I mean, literally, base your decisions on the user's viewpoint. Base your decisions on what you hear from the users. And make them better service, a better product. Make sure you have multiple perspectives in your team, because sometimes it's too single-sided, even if it's just UX designers, service designers, or just programmers, sometimes it's too single-sided. And always think about the whole experience, not just the product. These are actually definitions of how to design the good UX, but as you see, especially from the last point, it's really about how to design a good service. Thank you very much for your attention. My name was Adam Nemet, and I'm a software design engineer. Thank you. Bye-bye.